Hello, magandang araw! Welcome to my online class. For today's video, we will talk about developmental tasks. Our objectives for today's lesson: at the end of this lesson, you should be able to first, define developmental tasks in your own words, and number 2, describe the developmental tasks in each developmental stage. Are you ready? So let's begin. There are 8 developmental stages given by Santrock. The 8 developmental stages cited by Santrock are the same with Hevighurst's 6 developmental stages, only that Hevighurst did not include prenatal period. Hevighurst combined infancy and early childhood, while Santrock mentioned them as 2 separate stages. These developmental stages are described more in detail in the next slides. Prenatal period. Referring to prenatal development, Santrock asked the following question: how from a simple, a beginning to endless forms, develop and grow and mature? How was this organism? What is it now? And what will it become? Birth's fragile moment arrives when the newborn on a threshold between 2 folds. It involves the tremendous growth from a single cell to an organism complete with brain and behavioral capabilities. Next, infancy. As newborns, we were not empty-headed organisms. We cried, we kicked, we sucked, we saw, we heard, and tasted. We slept a lot, and occasionally we smiled, although the meaning of our smiles was not entirely clear. We crawled, and then we walked a journey of 1,000 miles, beginning with a single step. Sometimes we conformed, sometimes others conformed to us. Our development was a continuous creation of complex forms, and our helpless kind demanded the meaning eyes of love. We split the universe into 2 halves, me and not me. And we jog and need to be curb our own will with becoming what we will be freely. So in the infancy stage, it is also a time of extreme dependence on adults. Many psychological activities are just beginning, like language, symbolic thought, sensory motor coordination, and social learning. So here are some of the developmental tasks during infancy and early childhood. First, learning to walk, learning to take solid foods, learning to talk, learning to control the elimination of body waste, learning sex differences and sexual modesty, acquiring concepts and language to describe social and physical reality, readiness in reading, and learning to distinguish right from wrong, and developing a conscience. Early childhood. In early childhood, our greatest untold poem was being only 4 years old. We skipped, played, and ran all day long. Never in our lives so busy. Busy becoming something we had not quite grasped yet. Who knew our thoughts, which work up into small mythologies all our own? Our thoughts and images and drawings took wings. The blossom of our heart no wind could touch. Our small world widened as we discovered new refuge and new people. When we said I, we meant something totally unique, not to be confused with any other. In early childhood, these are the preschool or preschool years. Young children learn to become more self-sufficient and to care for themselves, develop school readiness skills, and spend many hours in play with peers. Middle and late childhood. In middle and late childhood, we were on a different plane, belonging to a generation and feeling properly our own. It is the wisdom of human development that at no other time we are more ready to learn than at the end of the childhood's period of expansive imagination. Our thirst was to know and to understand. Our parents continued to cradle our lives, but our growth was also being shaped by successive choirs of friends. We did not think much about the future or the past, but enjoyed the present. The fundamental skills of reading, writing, and arithmetic are mastered in the middle and late childhood. The child is formally exposed to the larger world and its culture. Achievement becomes a more central theme of a child's world, and self-control increases. And some of the developmental tasks for middle childhood. First, learning physical skills necessary for ordinary games. Next, building a wholesome attitude toward oneself. Learning to get along with age mates. Number 4, learning an appropriate sex role. Number 5, developing fundamental skills in reading, writing, and calculating. 6. Developing concepts necessary for everyday living. Number 7. Developing conscience, morality, and a scale of values. Number 8. Achieving personal independence. And number 9. Developing acceptable attitudes towards society. Next is adolescence. In no other in no order of things was adolescence, the simple time of life for us. We clothed ourselves with rainbows, and sometimes we went brave as the zodiac, flashing from one end of the world to other. We tried on one face after another, searching for a face of our own. We wanted our parents to understand us and hope they would give up the privilege of understanding them. We wanted to fly, but found that first we had to learn to stand and walk and climb and dance. In our most pimply and awkward moments, we became acquainted with sex. We played furiously at adult games, but were confined to a society of our own peers. Our generation was a fragile cable by which the best and the worst of our parents' generation was transmitted to the present. In the end, there were two but lasting bequests our parents could leave us, one being roots and the other wings. At this stage begins with rapid physical changes, dramatic gains in height and weight, changes in body contour, and the development of sexual characteristics such as enlargement of the breast for the girls, development of pubic and facial hair, and deepening of the voice for the boys. Pursuit of independence and identity are prominent, though is more logical, abstract, and idealistic. More time is spent outside of the family. And during this stage, here are some of the developmental tasks. First, achieving mature relations with both sexes. Number 2, achieving a masculine or feminine social role. 3, accepting one's physique. 4, achieving emotional independence of adults. Number 5, preparing for marriage and family life. 6, preparing for an economic career. 7, acquiring values and ethical system to guide behavior. And number 8, desiring and achieving social responsible behavior. So next, early adulthood. Early adulthood is a time for work and a time for love, sometimes leaving little time for anything else. For some of us, finding our place in adult society and committing to a more stable life take longer than we imagine. We still ask ourselves who we are and wonder if isn't enough just to be. Our dreams continue, our thoughts are bold, but at some point we become more pragmatic. Sex and love are powerful passions in our lives. At times, angels of light, at other times of torment. And we possibly will never know the love of our parents until we become parents ourselves. It is also a time in the early adulthood. It is the time of establishing personal and economic independence, career development, selecting a mate, learning to live with someone in an intimate way, starting a family and rearing children. Okay, let's see also some of the developmental tasks in early adulthood. Again, selecting a mate, learning to live with a partner, starting a family, rearing children, managing a home, starting an occupation, and assuming civic responsibility. Middle adulthood. In middle adulthood, what we have been forms what will be. In middle adulthood, what we have been forms what we will be. For some of us, middle age is such a foggy place, a time when we need to discover what we are running from and to, and why. We compare our life with what we vowed to make it. In middle age, more time stretches before us and some evaluations have to be made. However, reluctantly. As the young and old polarity greet us with a special force, we need to join the daring of youth with the discipline of age in a way that does justice to both. As middle-aged adults, we come to sense that the generations of living things pass in a short while and like runner's hand on the torch of life. It is also the time of expanding personal and social involvement and responsibility, of assisting the next generation in becoming competent and mature individuals, and of reaching and maintaining satisfaction in a career. Okay, some of the developmental tasks also. One, helping teenage children to become happy and responsible adults. Next, achieving adult social and civic responsibility. Number 3, satisfactory career achievement. 4, developing adult leisure time activities. 5, relating to one's spouse as a person. 6, accepting the physiological changes of middle age. And 7, adjusting to aging parent. And the last stage, the late adulthood. The rhythm and meaning of human development eventually wend their way to late adulthood, when each of us stands alone at the heart of the earth and suddenly it is the evening. We shed the leaves of youth and are stripped by the winds of time down to the truth. We learn that life is lived forward but understood backward. We trace the connection between the end and the beginning of life and try to figure out what this whole show is about before it is over. Ultimately, we become to know that we are what survives of us. In this stage also, it is the time for adjustment to decreasing strength and health, life review, retirement, and adjustment to new social roles. And the other developmental tasks: first, adjusting to decreasing strength and health, adjusting to retirement and reduced income, adjusting to death of spouse, establishing relations with one's own age group, meeting social civic obligations, and establishing satisfactory living quarters. So those are the developmental tasks, and this is our reference, the child and adolescent learners, and learning principles. So, I would like to give you this quote. Children do learn what they live. Then, they grew up to live what they've learned. So, thank you so much for watching my video. Stay safe and Ganbatte Kudasai. Always do your best.